and welcome to Daleks Aren't Robots. I'm Josh, doing the talky thing. And as always, I am here with my friends. We have Kari.
Hello.
We have Zach.
Hello.
And we have Justin.
Hello.
All right. And that's everyone that we can see, at least. So we
can see.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
My fish is also here,
We can't see the fish.
if that helps.
All right. This is our first not in order episode, kind of, and our first step outside of Canon Who, as today
Whoa. What does canon mean?
That is an argument for the comments section.
Yeah.
But today we are talking about the first of the Peter Cushing Dalek adaptation movies, Doctor Who and the Daleks. And I'll get into what the fuck that means later, but for now, Justin, can you just give us a brief summary of what happens in this movie?
Pretty much the same thing that happens in the Daleks.
That's basically it. Yep. It's basically just a movie adaptation of the Daleks, just
With 100% less stalking.
And murdering. There's
And
not
murder.
very much murdering.
Yeah, that is actually true. This version of the Doctor seems much
Nicer?
much kinder. Yeah.
He's a lot more cuddly.
He's also called Doctor Who now, apparently.
Yeah, that's his
Yes.
actual name, Doctor Who.
And Tardis is just Tardis. No acronym. It's just Tardis.
Well, they do say it stands for time and relative dimensions in space.
Mm.
Right.
I think
They
Susan
do.
explained. Susan
Very
it's
explained.
not
briefly in the
TARDIS.
No.
But it's
Yeah,
still
it's
not
just
the
TARDIS.
TARDIS.
Yeah.
It's just TARDIS.
And he apologizes to someone.
Which is, frankly, I don't care.
yeah. Hashtag not my doctor.
Yeah, it was. But he was much more likable. He's kinder and gentler and less murdery. And I wasn't sure if it was just because Barbara is his teenager granddaughter now and Ian is Barbara's boyfriend. So he knows these people. They're not some randos who hitched a ride. And he's also a lot more watchful of Susan, which makes complete sense because now she's a child instead of a teenager.
I think maybe one thing that does show through is that as much as I like William Hartnell, Peter Cushing is a better actor.
I mean,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that he's a better actor. The character is just
it's
different.
a lot different, but yeah.
He's a lot different. Like, and that part of that is just that you react very differently to a 10-year-old as opposed to a 16-year-old. Like, you're naturally going to be way more protective of a kid.
And he played him a lot differently too.
I will also say that Peter Cushing in this movie is like prime Peter Cushing. Like he's still in the Hammer movies and stuff like that. So he's in a fairly robust period of his career. We're seeing Hartnell at the very end of his career.
That's true. That is true.
Right.
And this is also a role unlike pretty much anything Cushing had done up to this point or really since.
That's true.
Hmm.
This
He
is
usually does not play cuddly characters.
No.
No.
Even when he's the good guy, he's not a cuddly good guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Van Helsing cuddly.
Yeah.
But he is. He jokes with Susan and he smiles at her all the time and just does little cutesy motions like you always do with real kids when they're around.
Yeah.
I mean, being honest, Susan is the standout character in this movie.
I liked this version of Ian. I like bumbling comic relief Ian.
Roy Castle.
Yes. I liked Susan though too. She's still smart and she's still
Yeah.
super capable. Everyone is a little bit more protective of her because she's a literal child now. I loved that she's the one that takes out the Dalek camera using nothing but a pen, which she stole from the Daleks, which I really liked.
Which is funny because that means Daleks have pens.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
like, how do you do that with the little clamp thing?
They have a bulb. So what they do, I believe, is they take the plunger, suck it.
They don't have to use the plunger. They have the
They have claws.
they have the
Oh,
claw
that's
arm.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Now
claw doesn't close that tightly, you guys. Not even close.
Well, they're supposed to, but budget.
Ugh, I don't know about that.
We don't have the budget to make our clamps clamp exactly, guys.
it's been a while, but I am also pretty sure that that pen trick is taken from the serial, isn't it?
No, it's not the same.
It's not exactly the same, but it's close enough, and there's reasons for that.
Ian was the biggest change, and he's like explicitly now Barbara's boyfriend,
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
and he's super clumsy.
Yep.
which moves the plot forward sometimes, which is nice.
Yep.
Like he accidentally hits the lever of the TARDIS, and that's why they have their first little space jaunt. He's still protective of Susan, and which makes again more sense because she's a kid, but also he's a little bit less physically capable, but he's still really brave and
Yeah.
fairly clever, I thought. Like in the end, he gets all of the Daleks to point their little swishy things at him, which is fairly dangerous, so that they
Yes.
will get the console behind him. So that was clever and also brave. And he doesn't mansplain.
I am vaguely reminded, though, of that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's watching a cop show and one of the characters is named Homer Simpson and he's this cool badass at first. But then a couple episodes later, they turn him into a fat, bumbling cop and Homer gets offended. I cannot help but feel that if Ian Chesterton saw this Ian Chesterton, he'd be like, that's not me, right?
Yeah.
He's still a good character, though. Like, you root for him.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
that really got hosed in this adaptation, I think, is Barbara. Yeah.
She had
Yeah.
literally nothing to
She
do.
doesn't have a niche. She just doesn't do
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, at least she's not damseled. They didn't do that to her.
No. But
she
she's
didn't
very,
scream that much or anything.
she's also not interested in anything.
No.
She reminds me of, do you remember the Narnia books? When Susan
Yeah.
in the books got too old?
Susan.
And basically the whole thing is like she couldn't go to Narnia anymore because she was more interested in
Yeah,
the thick
Susan
and
goes to hell
bulges and-
because she likes boys and makeup. Okay, CS, whatever.
yeah, because she quote unquote grows out of it basically. That's what Barbara
Yeah.
reminds me of.
Which is odd because she's reading a science book at the beginning
She
too.
is.
Yeah.
Like she's not a dumb person.
And she's literally sitting in her grandfather's time machine.
Yeah.
One of the issues there, I would also say, is Barbara does a lot in a lot of the serials, but the Daleks is not exactly, from a plot perspective, it's not exactly a very Barbara-centric episode.
Yeah.
They also had to
Right.
tighten for the like hour and a half runtime. They had to tighten the story up quite a bit.
They did. A lot of things move much faster. Although, weirdly enough, a lot of the filler stayed in. I'm kind of amazed.
They were
Yeah, it did.
required to.
Oh, were they? Okay.
I don't know how much you want me to get into production yet.
Well, I want to know why they were required to have filler. Is it just that they couldn't make the 1 hour 20?
When they approached the BBC and Terry Nation about making these films, they paid $500 for the rights to all of them. But what they bought was the rights to adapt exactly those episodes. They had to do what was in the episodes. They couldn't add anything, and they had to do as much of what was in the episodes as possible.
So, like, they couldn't cut out the cave episode, even though it's basically filler, because then you'd be cutting out a whole episode.
Right.
That's
Okay.
a shame.
Yeah.
They did cut a lot of it though.
Yeah.
They did, but there are some sequences where I am kind of like, oh, I kind of wish we'd spent a little more time on that. But it does definitely move a lot faster than the serial itself.
Yeah.
So this one is best done in a compare and contrast style. Of the two, which would you take?
The original, I think.
I have to think about it because there are certain aspects of this one that I liked a lot more.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think as a story, I like the elements of the original more. I like the Doctor better and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do too, but I honestly, I really like the color. I'm not a black and white hater. I like the way that the color palette was used in this movie. And I'm not someone who always notices things like that, but the color in this movie is gorgeous and it's glorious. Like the Skaro exteriors are all super, super green. It's very intense, like a candy color green. And the interior of the Dalek City is bizarrely pink. It's very pink, but it's all of these candy colors. It's like you're opening Easter M&Ms in there. Everything is Easter M&Ms inside the Dalek City.
Lots of art.
It just looks interesting. Like the design of things is really unusual.
The Daleks looked really cool too.
Yes,
They do.
the M&M Daleks, they're wonderful. You can tell the leader Dalek from the other ones, like they managed to give them a little bit more character by doing that. They have visible sprays of, I don't know, it looks like a fire extinguisher, frankly.
Yeah.
And some of them have pinchers for grabbing things.
I'm pretty sure that fire extinguisher thing is supposed to be a laser.
Well,
I can get into that.
Well, it does the same thing roughly as the wee thing did before.
Yeah.
But they didn't really have that great of an effect for it before. I also loved like the number of Daleks, like because they obviously had more than 4 Dalek.
Yeah, they didn't have cheated anymore.
Right. They had a scene which I thought was really good. It more explicitly ties the Daleks to fascism because at one point they all line up in kind of a formation and the lead Dalek is giving a speech, and I just thought, this is Dalek Triumph of the Will. It was. And they're supposed to be like that. They used their assets to hit their point a little bit more.
Yeah,
I felt
they very much stretching what they could get away with by doing that. That was cut, I believe, in a lot of the British releases.
Oh, that's too bad.
Uh.
Also, these Daleks might be totally different things than the ones that we saw on the show. They pull one out of its can and it has like a claw thing.
Yeah, they have this weird claw thing.
Yeah, and also this Dalek stopped moving, so I think they actually killed it.
Yeah.
But they use color so well in this movie.
It
was surprising. The Thals, they're still super fabulous.
We were actually able to see their eye makeup now.
They're way more fabulous than they were before.
If we may, I would like to get to the Thals a little later because I still would like to do some compare and contrast, and I feel like the Thals are going to be a topic unto themselves given the look they had in this one.
They really did want to use the color to appeal because it was around the dawn of really using Technicolor.
Yeah. A lot of stuff in the 60s, especially coming out of England, tended to use production design that would enhance color because color was a selling point in the 1960s. If you've ever seen the trailer for the Beatles movies, like Hard Day's Night and Help, the one for Help actually advertises that it's in color.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Also, something to note, just because we were talking about comparing the two, until about the late 80s, for a lot of people, this was the only way that they could see any William Hartnell stories.
Oh, sure.
So a lot of people did grow up with this being their only exposure to a version of the first Doctor.
Oh.
That must be really confusing to go from that to the show where things are very different.
In the later TV movie, didn't they say that the Doctor was half human?
We'll get to that in the next episode.
Maybe he's a descendant of the Peter Cushing Doctor.
That is actually a fan theory that was slightly backed up in the comics. I'm just
nice.
Oh, I love that. And not just the color either, just the set design in the movie.
Yeah, it was actually really cool looking.
I love the decor. The twisty mirror sculptures on the walls inside the
There's a lot of art. There's like a lot of art in the Dalek City.
Yes, and these satellite-looking sculpture things on the exterior, they look very alien and yet super 1960s at the same time. It's great.
It actually felt like a city.
It did.
It does a little bit.
At least more than in the original serial.
Yeah.
Because it was more than just like a room and a corridor.
Yeah, They were definitely allowed to take more advantage of the production.
They had that cool screen.
Yes, the consoles.
The map and stuff.
Yes, the consoles. Even that and that too. Like the consoles are beautiful. Like the Doctor has this radar looking thing, but it's not like a black and white radar screen. It's bright blue and purple. The Daleks have a map of Skaro, but it's not like a silver map. It's these beautiful colors with this kind of pearlescent sheen. And the Tardis's interior is now this chaotic mass of hanging wires and doodads and like bright colored things and just stuff all over the place. And incongruously a rocking chair for some reason.
Honestly, if there's one thing about the production that I feel got worse going from the show to the movie, it is the TARDIS interior, which is bright and colorful, but it also very much looks like they just hung a bunch of stuff around a black studio.
That is literally just a room with a bunch of crap.
I mean, to be fair, it looks like something
one that was invented by a guy.
Yeah.
This is not a finished spaceship that he bought from somebody, you know? True. This is something that he came up with.
Bought.
They're lucky it works.
I think it works being chaotic, and the rocking chair makes sense with the Peter Cushing with how he acts. He would definitely have a rocking chair in there.
It makes sense. Just aesthetically, I feel like it's a step down. It's not as cool looking.
It isn't, and it's not as alien looking either, but he's not supposed to be
No.
an alien.
The Thals and the Daleks are the only aliens in this
Yep.
one.
The Doctor is not. And I actually like this Susan enough that I kind of wish that she had been on the show, mostly because they seem to know what to do with this Susan.
Well, yeah, she fits into the Kenny archetype where she's the precocious, smart child.
Right.
That's easier to write stuff for, especially in this period.
Yeah.
Exactly. They seem to know what to do with her. And I liked how it affected the other characters' treatment of her, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this was a really good child actress. This was like, I think, her 12th job.
Yes. She was. She toed the line between precocious and obnoxious really, really well.
This was the Shirley Temple of England. Just like going from job to job. All right, Ma, what's the next gig?
And packs a Lucky Strikes a day.
The director for this movie said that he would pay her a shilling for every scene that she could do in one take, and did not do that for the sequel because she did every scene in one take, and he had to pay her like 21 shillings at the end.
Damn straight.
That's actually where half the budget for the movie went. She just walked away with it.
I don't know what I would say between the two. I like the Doctor and Barbara a lot better in the original.
Yeah.
But I like Susan and Ian a little bit, but like this Ian would not fit in the show at all.
No.
So
No.
that would not work. But like I like this Ian better, but I don't think he'd be good in the show. There's some things that I like so much more and other things that I don't like as much.
I will just say that as a fan, my loyalty is to the show, obviously, but I do find this sort of an interesting AU version of what happened.
I would imagine for a fan, it's more like it's like an interesting time capsule.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that you can watch and kind of appreciate on its own merits.
Yeah. In some way, it has the Doctor Who spirit, but it also, for me at least, it has that spirit of the stuff like bed knobs and broomsticks.
Yeah.
And that sort of really fun 60s British children's adventure
Chitty
movie
Chitty
thing.
Bang Bang.
Yeah, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The original the crazy scientist or whatever it's called, the thing that became Flubber.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
definitely more aimed at children than the show is.
The nutty professor.
Yeah.
No, that's a Jerry Lewis thing. That's
Yeah.
something else. It's something like the bumbling professor or something like that. The absent-minded professor, I think.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what it's
yeah.
called.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you now.
That was cute.
Yeah, which I will also say I have a certain nostalgia for, because as a kid growing up in the 90s, when those VHSs were very cheap, I watched them a lot.
Yeah. But I do like this a lot, and I hope that fans don't dislike it or consider it lesser because it's quote unquote not canon.
Not in canon.
I actually polled a couple of Facebook groups, none, officially. And my very unscientific response was a few people were not happy with it, but most of them seemed to hit from the curious to, oh, I actually really loved it. And some people even said that it was their introduction to the show.
Yeah.
So it definitely seems to have, like, I would equate it to the Batman TV show of the 1960s. There's definitely a section that's like really pissed off at it for stupid reasons, but most people in it either are like, okay, it's a thing, to, oh, that's what actually got me into the thing.
I love Batman 69.
And from what I know, this was helped by it when it was released in Britain, but also there are some very big fans who really do like this, including some showrunners of New who tried their best to make it sort of canon. Stephen Moffat specifically really loves these movies.
Oh, well, in that case, they suck.
Yeah, they're terrible. Now I've decided the show wins. The end.
Yeah.
He hurt me. I had to watch that entire Dracula thing. He needs to pay for his crimes, all right?
Well, we'll get to Moffat at some point and the weird roller coaster that his era is. But I do actually want to get us back to something that I took us away from before. I think we should talk about the Thals, because, their look in this movie.
It's pretty good. It's really
It's
good.
not that they're wearing makeup. It really isn't. Like, because you can put a man in makeup anytime and they look fine, whatever.
No, it's the style.
Specific type of makeup. They have this gold pale skin, which I actually really like from a color perspective. And their weird blonde wig hair is still there. But then they have this amazing, hilarious Cruella de Vil eye makeup. And it is exactly Cruella de Vil eye makeup. Like, that's the specific style. It's the blue eyeshadow, like an old lady.
Angled up.
Angled up,
like,
and then the big black, like, cat eye type. It's not exactly a cat eye.
We aren't even discussing the falsies, the false eyelashes that had
no.
like out to here.
Oh, I thought that was mascara.
Oh no, those were eyelashes.
Oh my gosh.
If you want to know, the guy who played Aladon, Birmingham, described the look of the Thals, of the male Thals specifically, as John Wayne legs, chest with no hair, and on the top the head of Gene Shrimpton.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
He made them shave their chests. Okay, I didn't notice that.
So most of the male Thals were dock workers and things, and
that does actually show. That does.
And they were fine with the makeup and everything until they found out that they had to shave their chest and arm hair. And they actually negotiated for more money as they had to shave.
I hope so.
Yeah, damn straight.
It never grows in the same way. Oh my god.
They felt emasculated by having to shave their chest and arm hair.
I would feel emasculated if I'm a woman. Like, I'm not going to shave my arm hair for anybody. I'm sorry.
It does kind of have that look of Gene Hackman at the end of The Birdcage, where it's just like fairly masculine looking figures in awkward drag running around.
No. Yeah, it is very drag-esque because people don't wear makeup of that style. Like I said, it's a very specific old lady-ish style.
My favorite though is the guy playing the leader, Aladon. My mistake. I'm a fake fan. You found me out. Aladon, who does in fact look like, like he is the type of guy you would cast to play an old-timey miner or something like that. Like he's got that sort of chiseled face and the big muscles. And then he's got like the full makeup look on. And it's
odd.
It is. It's not even necessarily a bad look. It's just like you're looking at him and going like, this is not something you would normally do, is it?
No.
This is not you.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice.
It's a strong choice.
It sure is. Oh, I was sad that they lost their cool hats and fascinators, though.
Yeah, their pants don't have holes in them.
No, their pants don't have holes, and they don't have that kicky little hat thing that girl
and they
was
aren't wearing the shower curtains as much.
No.
They have them, though. They are there.
They're not as silly looking, though, either.
It kind of depends.
They look better in color.
They look better in color, and the pattern on these ones is more like camo patterned.
It doesn't look like
if they stood still inside that green forest, I think they would be invisible.
It doesn't look like they just went and ripped the shower curtain from their nan's bedroom.
Right.
It looks like slightly more work was done.
Right.
Which it was. They did have, well, not a great budget, but they had a budget, £108,000.
That seems like a lot.
For the time, it's not for a film.
They did so much, though. I mean, the sets look just beautiful.
Yeah, they seem to stretch it out pretty well.
I'd say that budget is probably pretty equivalent to something like, say, Forbidden Planet. The trick is you make a lot of that stuff to not build to last.
Yeah.
At least that is my experience.
Also, if you notice, they didn't have a model of the Dalek City in the movie.
No.
I did notice that.
No, they had a matte painting, but not a full model.
Their matte paintings were great, though, too. Because
were.
There's this beautiful matte painting of a hill that they're climbing or whatever, and it looks great. It's gorgeous.
And that one clearly did have a model attachment on it that I think they were dragging a couple of tiny Barbara and Ian models up.
It looked good.
And that's even without recombling the budget, even with the fact that they spent the budget on some things that they couldn't use. Like they
did
what?
They did actually have a full model for a Dalek creature in a scene with that, and they did have the whole swamp mutant attack scene, but both of those were too scary.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so there's actually a picture of that Dalek
No.
somewhere?
Unfortunately, all that's been lost.
No! Oh,
I
I
looked.
wanted to see what that looked like.
I would have shared that if I could have found it, but no.
Gosh, damn.
That sucks.
That is a painful loss.
And yeah, the swamp meat attack scene, which without that, we just kind of imply all that, and it feels kind of weird.
I was sort of wondering, like, wait, why did we bother with the swamp mutant if we're not going to do the fight?
Or
And
at least show a hand coming up from the water or something. I don't know.
They were really fighting the censors on this one and really trying to be kid friendly. They really wanted the U rating, and part of this was in response to the show being too dark and scary.
Would a U rating be like equivalent to a G rating here in America, or?
So
I don't think so, because Maleficent gets pretty freaking scary.
basically in the 1960s, you had 3 ratings: U, A, and X. A is basically PG-13, but for the age of 12, and U is anything that anyone can see.
Wow, like,
man, they were hardcore.
If 12 is the limit, though, I think they could handle some scary stuff.
Well, also, they were really trying to be child-friendly, and this was in response to a lot of people who, were complaining that the show was too dark. And
whatever.
Scissors. It always comes back to scissors.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking at that age, I was like reading the Grimm fairy tales where the stepsisters dance in red hot shoes at the end of Cinderella. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, whatever. I got through Return to Oz and I'm fine.
Yes, but you guys weren't in 1960s Britain. You weren't kids in 1960s Britain. It was a very different time.
Those kids may have survived the Blitz.
Well, no, the kids didn't, but the adults did.
Okay, fine. They would have seen news. They would have seen like footage of it, probably.
I don't think so. I don't know. I did appreciate that the Thal guy who falls in the cave doesn't die this time, because that seemed really stupid in the show.
Yeah, they cut to him alive.
Because they actually keep the number of deaths to a bare minimum.
Yeah,
a family-friendly minimum.
Yeah, I actually, my dad is a writer, and one of his friends made a switch from adult books to kid books, and he said one of the hardest things was my editor kept sending me back notes going like, okay, but does this person have to die? So I can kind of relate. So we've compared the companions, we've compared the Daleks, we've compared the Thals. I guess we didn't get into the new strange claw-based hierarchy of the Daleks. If we want to discuss that.
Or their weapons, really, but yeah.
Were the ones with the clamps like the worker caste or whatever?
I think so.
They did want to separate the Daleks out more. That's why you had the different colors. Yeah, the claws were more the generic.
I'm sorry, you people can't see this at home, but Justin is cuddling his kitty, who is deciding to attack him.
He is biting my arm, so he is going to go lay down and think about what he's done. He is a bitey cat.
Silly boy.
As are most good kitties. I do also have to assume that the claw, in addition to helping differentiate the Daleks a bit, it also allows you to kind of do more with the Daleks.
He's got the clamps.
Yeah, he's got the clamps.
It's also a bit more generic sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But they did still have plungers.
The higher-ups.
I think the plungers are maybe supposed to be more all-purpose, whereas the clamp can only clamp.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea, anyway.
You have motor function and extended mobility. Clearly, you are beneath me with my plunger.
Yeah.
And of course, in place of the sort of laser-y noises that the guns on the Daleks made in the original serial before people just spontaneously died, these shot missed at people.
Part of the problem is because this was shot on film, not videotape. So the death ray effect that they used couldn't be for the TV show.
Yeah.
Couldn't be used unless you had an optical printer, and that was only in America. So that would have been too expensive. So then they wanted to give all the Daleks flamethrowers.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I wish.
That would have been a very different show.
I'll show you who makes fire.
Yeah.
That's why the Daleks are superior. They make all the fire.
All of them, not just the leaders. Oh no.
Their society's going great.
Oh my god.
But it was considered too frightening, and the censors would have had a field day.
And also, I have to assume it would not be quite as safe for the actors who they would be aiming at.
One of whom is a literal child this time.
That reminds me of the 60s Fantastic Four cartoon, or it was 60s or 70s, where they replaced the Human Torch with Herbie the Robot.
Yeah, I think that
because they were afraid that kids would light themselves on fire.
Well, if they saw Daleks with flamethrowers, we know they would definitely copy that.
Well, they would just set each other on fire.
Yeah.
Your kid would be fine.
Survival of the fittest.
Yes. So they decided, we can't use fire because it's too scary. Okay, we're just going to put fire extinguishers in the Daleks.
We'll just spray all these chemicals all over the place. It'll be fine.
Oh my god.
They were just actually CO2 canisters, like CO2 fire canisters.
I really hope Peter Cushing was in on the meeting where they were talking about having the bad guys just shoot flamethrowers at him for the climax and the thing.
I'm pretty sure my union is not going to go along with this, you guys.
Hammer Horror never made me do that.
Which is actually kind of funny because he had last worked with the writer and producer of this on a Hammer Horror film. That's how he partially got the job.
Which one?
Milton Sabowski.
I have no idea what that is.
Not familiar with that one.
No.
Oh no, not the writer producer. What was the
name of the movie
film that he worked on with that?
Oh, the film. The film. Give me a second.
Everyone remembers that great Hammer Horror movie, Milton Sabowski.
Sorry.
It could have been the name. I wouldn't have known.
Where Peter Cushing is haunted by a nebbish British person.
I'm wrong. They did previously do Hammer work, but this film was actually their own production company, not Hammer.
Okay.
What was it?
Well, yeah. What
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
I do know that one.
Yeah, me too.
I don't.
There was a movie he was in, and I only know it because I saw it on Mystery Science Theater. I don't think it was Hammer. It might have been. But he was in that movie At the Earth's Core.
Oh,
and he played basically the same type of character. He was kind of a doddery old scientist who built the drill.
That's right.
I was curious if it was that, because it was basically the same character.
Not as good of a movie,
also,
though.
That's how they got Roy Castle, because he was in that.
Oh,
that makes sense.
I have lots of questions still about
I have
this.
some answers, maybe.
Good. Why? Okay, just like why in general did they make this?
So when they started to make it, Dalek Mania was already rising, and Dalek Mania is a thing that happened in Britain.
I'm just picturing Beatlemania.
I'm just imagining the Daleks with the Beatles hair.
Legions of screaming fangirls getting disintegrated.
Think of it more like Cabbage Patch Kids over here, but Daleks.
Oh, okay. So like kind of a fad, like a trendy thing.
Merchandising.
Buying all
a lot of that merchandise is really expensive nowadays.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Now I'm just imagining a Dalek toy with little yarn pigtails.
No, it's salt and pepper shakers. That's how you corner the market on Dalek merch.
Oh
and this came out at the height of Dalek Mania in the 60s. Yeah, it did fairly well in Britain because of that, but not in America. Because
Shocking.
America hadn't heard of the Daleks or seen Doctor Who at that point.
Yeah.
But that's also why they cast Peter Cushing.
Why did they cast anyone that wasn't from the show? Why didn't they just make Hartnell and those guys do it?
So actually, Hartnell was upset that he wasn't chosen to play the Doctor in the movie. Part of the reason that they didn't have any of the actors was scheduling conflicts, but the reason they went for Cushing is he was more well-known than Hartnell. And they did actually have, not that you would realize it, the Dalek voices and some of the Dalek suit operators were from the show.
Why didn't they get top billing?
I mean, they are what people are actually showing up to see.
I mean, they should have, because from what we know from the actors on set, they never saw anyone get in or out of the Dalek suits. So those people were in the Dalek suits
So they're
for
a method.
hours, for days.
Oh my gosh.
The BBC is actually run by Daleks, so they just like sent a few people over. If you've ever heard of how the BBC closed deals, you would not be surprised.
So Hartnell was upset. Were the others
As
mad?
far as I know, no, because they didn't have time to go do a film shoot. And most of them didn't know until the film was almost made that it was happening.
By this point, I'm pretty sure everyone but Hartnell was off the show.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
How many years are in between?
Yeah, when did this come
This
out?
came out
This-
in 65.
And the original serial came out in 1963.
Oh,
And actually,
Okay.
something interesting, some of the dialects that were made for this movie showed up in the actual show before this movie came out.
That's
really?
something I think I'd heard about. I don't know if your research brought this up, but I've been told that a part of the reason this movie was made in the first place was as a deal with the BBC. The BBC wanted to find a way to make some flashier new Daleks that they could, then sell as toys.
yeah, exploit for Dalek Mania.
And so this movie company was like, hey, we'll make them for you, but you've got to let us use them for a big movie first because we want to capitalize on that
Well,
too.
actually, they wanted to make it for 3 big movies. We'll get into why there's only 2 in the next, when we cover
No, I want to know now. You got to tell me.
Yeah, just
I'll come
tell
back
us.
to that at the end.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
we'll cover that.
So that's why they
Yeah.
they changed the cast. So did they keep any other parts of the sets? Because the sets are obviously.
For the show, I don't think so. Something to keep in mind is that even at this point, the show was still in black and white.
Yeah, but some of
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't matter as
Well,
much.
also, this wasn't done by the BBC, so they didn't own the sets. And a lot of these sets were adapted from other films and then repainted and used in other films.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tragedy, though.
The BBC got to keep the Daleks, at least.
That's true.
Oh, something we didn't mention, but something I do like. We got the longer Dalek bulbs now, which I do kind of prefer to the squat ones that they
Oh,
had.
and they have little flashy lights up there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you know who's talking.
they did that in the original serial too. It's just they were doing that manually, so sometimes they wouldn't flash when they were supposed to.
Actually, that was a big issue in this because the director didn't realize that the lights were supposed to flash only when a Dalek was talking.
Oh.
So he had them flashing all the time. So the editors and the people doing the voices had to do a lot of dancing around to make it look like they were only flashing when they were talking, which is why a lot of the dialogue is very stilted.
Wow.
I couldn't tell.
No, I wouldn't have noticed that either.
They just sounded like Daleks.
Yep.
You have to deal with that issue of yours.
I feel like stilted and angry is kind of the main form that a Dalek starts from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it fits the characters. So how much money did this thing
So
make?
box office figures are hard. It was in the top 10 of movies released in Britain that year.
Solid, it sounds
It
like.
didn't do great in
Yeah.
America. It didn't really do
No.
anything in America.
I'm willing to bet it made its money
Since
back.
it had a small budget, yeah. It also doesn't help that it was basically competing with Mary Poppins.
Ooh. But then again, British people having to listen to Dick Van Dyke's accent.
Well, also something to keep in mind is that before it came out, no one was really expecting Mary Poppins to be the extravaganza that it became. Because
Right.
it was like, just, oh, Disney's making another movie. And this was before, Disney was Disney.
Disney. Yeah.
That's why it didn't do well, because Americans already had a movie about it at the time. Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is a Time Lord.
She
Yeah,
is.
no, as I said, it did good in Britain, also because it came out at the height of Dalek Mania.
That reminds me, though, the TARDIS is so big in this. Like, the exterior of the TARDIS, they are all looking up at it at one point, and it looks huge. Did you
Mm.
guys notice that?
No, not really.
Like, from the outside, it looks large.
It does, yeah. It is larger compared to other models. I don't have an answer for that. One thing that does bug even people who like these movies is why does it look like a police box?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not broken.
He just built it. It does
Yeah.
because it looks like a police box in the show, but there's no in-universe explanation.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to look like a police box.
Maybe
That's
he
true.
just built it out of one.
Yeah.
That frankly doesn't bother me. Like, the Millennium Falcon doesn't look like a falcon. Like, it's...
It could look like a Millennium Falcon. You don't know what they are. Could just be these weird disc things.
I want the next Star Wars trilogy to be exclusively about weird disc things called the Millennium Falcons.
Oh gosh, I mean,
Why
it
not?
can't be worse than Solo, can it? Speaking of
Or
movies
Rise-
that
Or
hurt
Rise
me.
of Skywalker.
Oh gosh.
Anyway,
Yeah, okay. Well,
This is
you've
not that
answered
kind of
pretty much all
podcast.
of the questions that I had.
I did have one other thing I was kind of curious about. What do you guys think of this Doctor? Not, the Doctor in general, but this particular Doctor Who, tricking them into going into the Dalek City, because that always struck me as kind of...
it's a little out of character. for
like
this
I
person.
get it. They have to do it because it's the plot of the serial. But given that this guy's so much nicer and more thoughtful,
Yeah.
See, and I think that's totally in character because you know who wants to explore the strange new world? Susan.
that's true.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
is
Yeah, I can see
doing
that.
what he has to
He's
do
doing it
to
for
get
her.
Susan what she wants.
That's fair.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, do we want to talk about why they didn't make the third movie based on The Chase?
Did Peter Cushing freaking die or
No, he
Oh,
made Star
good.
Wars after both of these movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know when the second one was made, so I didn't know
It's
that.
still 60s. Still the
Oh,
60s.
The
okay.
second one started being made the second they stopped filming this one.
Oh, okay. All right. So they're really close together. All right. So what happened? What happened?
So the second one didn't do as well, and then they basically kept trying to push making the third one based on another story, and they just never, to make it simple, they never got off the ground.
They were going to adapt The Chase,
Yeah,
right?
The Chase, which I actually think would have worked really well.
I mean, the serial itself is not that great to begin with, so...
We'll get to it. I have differing opinions to you.
Is that another Daleks one?
Yes.
It's another Dalek
Okay.
one. It's the first... I think that's the first story with none of the original companions.
Nope, it still has the...
Oh, right.
companions.
That it's that
Yep,
Brandon
yep.
are still around. You are correct.
Were all the movies about Daleks?
Yes,
They are.
all of the Peter Cushing movies
Okay.
are dialect-based. The two...
Okay, that makes that. I mean, that does make
Yeah.
sense. It would be what you've told me. It would be weird if they weren't.
Yeah, no.
Does Susan stay?
Susan does stay.
She's my
Peter
favorite.
Cushing only agreed to do the second movie if the actress who played Susan also agreed to do it.
Oh,
So
that's
he is-
so
Yeah.
cute. He bonded with the little kid. So when he's
Yeah.
making little smiley faces at her and leaning down to talk to her, it's like legit.
Actors playing the Doctor bonding with actors playing Susan seems to be a parallel. I do know that Hartnell and Carol Ann Ford had a pretty good on-set rapport with each other.
Bonded pretty well.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
When they found the lily in the Dalek planet, well, what Susan had said, it was Cushing who found the name for a lily and had that included in the movie, had the scientific
Oh.
name of a lily included.
That's cool.
The flower looked really cool this time too.
I gotta say, it's really nice seeing Peter Cushing in this softer, gentler role, given, I
Yeah.
know him more as Moff Tarkin, and
Yeah, he's definitely exploding Alderaan in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Interesting coming right off, murdery Hartnell to cuddly Cushing.
Well, I believe that this Cushing could murder if he had to.
I think he would, but what amuses me is thinking of Hartnell's Doctor put into the same situation, where he murders Ian almost immediately for messing with the control.
Yeah.
Even though that wasn't even Ian's fault, because Barbara
really
pushed him into the lever.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. No, he would have made it look like an accident. He would have been standing
Yeah.
near the
Oh, yeah.
door or something.
Oh well,
Oops,
he shouldn't have been standing next to that
sorry.
thing.
But where Ian and Barbara in the show can actually kind of go toe-to-toe with Hartnell Doctor, I do not believe that either of these characters could stand up to
Oh,
Hartnell
God, no.
Doctor. He would have walked all over them.
I mean, they're kids
Yep.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not terribly old.
Yeah. They're not like.
And they
teachers
did
or
make them younger so that they would appeal more to kids.
Like he wouldn't have had to kill them, honestly. Like, they're not a threat to him.
No, it just would have been for
Yeah.
fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that. But, like, he wouldn't have felt threatened by them. They knuckle under a lot quicker than real Barbara and Ian.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, there's not.
yeah,
enough
they
quick-
don't test him ever. So he's going to be nicer to him.
I think my favorite thing, though, about the movie is, even though it's never said, in these movies, Barbara and Susan have to be named Barbara Who and Susan Who, because Dr.
Yeah.
literal name.
Well, they don't have to be. I mean, it could be the maiden name.
That's true. He is their grandfather, not their father. So.
Yeah, it could be the maiden
I
name.
like how we all assume that he's a human inventor. It's never stated. It's just assumed in the movie that he's human. We never like established that.
That is true, but
Yeah.
you'd think if he were an alien, someone would have said
He's
something.
so charming.
I mean, not necessarily. He could be in disguise too.
That's true.
That's not something that you're really
No.
very lead on in a science fiction movie, though.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
It's not
No,
really
it's-
important.
No, it's not.
So I think that covers everything on this movie, unless people have anything.
The lava lamps. I love the lava
Oh
lamps.
God, yeah. There were three lava lamps.
Yes,
Yes,
those were
the best.
adorable.
This is potentially the first appearance of lava lamps in film.
This is the most
Really?
important movie I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
This is the most important movie I've
Yeah.
ever seen.
Guys, we've watched movie history. It's the film premiere of Lava Lamps.
Did they ever make a Dalek lava lamp? Because that seems like a natural.
I have not seen one, but they have to have.
That
They made
has to be
Dalek
Yeah.
thing.
everything. There are Dalek
Yeah.
everything. I think that we're not going to hit a better height than that, so I think I'm going to close it out here. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the podcast. If you liked it and you're watching us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Hit the bell thingy.
Desecrate that like
Yes,
button.
desecrate the like button.
Just disintegrate.
Yep. Exterminate that bell icon. If you've downloaded us, though, you may have downloaded us from Apple Podcasts or anywhere on Buzzsprout, which we'll link down in the more information. You can also join our Facebook and Twitter pages, which, if you want to follow us, is kind of important now because we're jumping around and we're scheduling things all over the place, which leads us to what we're doing next time. We are continuing this Doctor Who movie travels, but we're leaving the cinema and going home, and we're jumping from the 1960s to the 1990s.
Ooh.
Very excited.
I'm gonna
about
get my spaghetti straps on.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering the controversial piece that is the Doctor Who TV movie.
I'll get my denim jeans, my denim shirt, my denim jacket. I'll be
Oh,
ready.
you've got
Canadian
the
leather.
sucks. I liked the TV movie.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how you feel rewatching
No,
it.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
In the meantime, everyone, feed your TARDIS and remember, check your lava lamp. It's probably got important things to say. Anyway.
Yeah, there's important information on this.
The Daleks want only to help you and to be friends.